Let me tell you something that most people will never say out loud. Being alone is not always bad luck. It is not always circumstance, and it is definitely not always someone else's fault. Sometimes the reason a person ends up walking through life without close friendships has nothing to do with the world around them. It has everything to do with specific patterns running quietly inside their own mind. Patterns they never asked for, never chose, and in most cases never even noticed. And until they understand those patterns, nothing changes. The friendships stay shallow. The connections stay brief. And they keep asking the same question. Why does this keep happening to me? This is not about being shy. This is not about being introverted. This goes deeper than that. So let's get into it.
The first pattern. You think too much about every single interaction. After a conversation ends, most people move on. They think about dinner, they check their phone, they go on with their day. But if you are someone who replays conversations for hours afterward, who dissects every word you said and every word they said, who lies awake at night wondering how you came across, then your brain is running a program that most people's brains simply don't run. Psychology calls this hyper-self-awareness. Your mind is constantly in observation mode, tracking how you appear to others, analyzing reactions, calculating impressions. And while that sounds like it would make you better at socializing, it actually does the opposite. Because when your brain is busy analyzing the conversation, it cannot actually be in the conversation. The warmth that creates genuine connection, the relaxed presence, the natural back and forth, all of that gets replaced by a quiet internal performance review. And the person across from you feels it. They cannot name it, but they feel it. Something is slightly off, something is slightly distant, and over time, they stop reaching out. Not because you did anything wrong, but because being around you never quite felt easy.
The second pattern. You see through people too clearly. You can tell when someone's laugh is forced. You can feel when someone is performing instead of being real. You know the difference between someone who genuinely cares and someone who is just going through the motions of caring. And once you see it, you cannot pretend you didn't. So you stop playing along. You stop laughing at things that aren't funny. You stop nodding at opinions you don't agree with. You stop performing enthusiasm you don't feel. Psychologists call this high social perception, and it often comes alongside strong emotional intelligence. But here is the problem. Most social environments run on a certain amount of performance. Small talk, polite laughter, surface-level validation. These things are not deep or meaningful, but they are the glue that holds casual connections together. When you refuse to participate in that glue, people feel exposed around you, like your presence is a quiet mirror they didn't ask to look into. And instead of facing that mirror, they avoid you. They tell themselves you are arrogant, that you think you are better than everyone, that you are cold and unfriendly. When really, the only thing you are guilty of is being real in a world that finds realness uncomfortable.
The third pattern. You never let anyone feel needed. This one is subtle, and it is probably the one that catches people most off guard. When something goes wrong in your life, you handle it alone. When you are struggling emotionally, you process it privately. When you need help, you figure it out yourself before anyone even knew you needed help in the first place. And on paper, that looks like strength. That looks like self-sufficiency. That looks like something to admire. But friendships are not built on admiration. They are built on need. Not desperation, not dependency, just the small, quiet human experience of mattering to someone, of being the person they call, of being let in. When you never show vulnerability, When you never open the door even slightly, the people around you subconsciously realize there is no space for them in your life. They are not needed. They are not let in. And slowly, without any dramatic falling out, they drift. Not because you pushed them away, but because you never pulled them in.
The fourth pattern. You cannot follow the crowd, even when it would cost you nothing. When everyone agrees, you find yourself questioning whether they are right. When everyone laughs, you are quietly analyzing why that was supposed to be funny. When everyone moves in one direction, something in you instinctively steps back and asks whether that direction actually makes sense. This is not something you decided to do. It is genuinely how your brain is wired. Psychology calls it low social conformity, and it is the trait that makes you stand out in any room you walk into. The problem is that closeness is built on sameness, shared reactions, shared opinions, shared experiences of the world. When you consistently respond differently from everyone else, people respect you from a distance. They find you interesting. They might even find you impressive, but they do not feel close to you because closeness requires a sense of familiarity, a sense of this person gets it the way I get it. And when you are always the one stepping back while everyone else moves forward, that sense of familiarity never builds.
The fifth pattern. You care deeply, but nobody can tell. This might be the most painful one, because many people who end up alone are not cold. They are not unfeeling. In fact, they often feel things very deeply. They notice when someone is struggling. They quietly show up in practical ways. They remember small things. They are genuinely loyal to the people they care about. But they do not express any of this in ways that other people can actually receive. They show care through action rather than words, through reliability rather than warmth, through being present rather than saying they are present. And while all of those things are genuinely valuable, most people need something more. They need to feel seen. They need to hear it. They need the emotion to be visible, not just inferred. Psychology has a term for this: alexithymia, the difficulty of identifying and expressing emotions outwardly. People with this trait are not empty inside. They are actually very full inside. But by the time they have processed what they feel enough to express it, the moment has passed. The other person has already drawn their conclusions. And the conclusion they draw, almost every time, is that you simply do not care.
Now here is what I actually want you to take from all of this. If you recognized yourself in any of these patterns, the instinct is going to be to feel bad about it, to see it as a list of flaws, to think something is fundamentally wrong with you. But that is not the right reading. These are not flaws, they are patterns, deeply ingrained ways that your mind has learned to operate. And like any pattern, once you can see it clearly, you have something you never had before, a choice. You can start catching yourself mid-analysis and choosing to just be present instead. You can let someone help you, even when you could handle it alone. You can say what you feel out loud, even when it feels unnecessary. You can let people in, even when you do not technically need them. None of this means changing who you are. It means understanding who you are well enough to stop accidentally building walls you never meant to build. Because the truth is, the very qualities that make genuine connection hard for you are often the same qualities that make you an extraordinary person to actually know. The depth, the honesty, the perception, the loyalty. These are rare things. They just need a bridge, a way of being expressed that the world around you can actually receive. You are not broken. You are not impossible to connect with. You are just someone whose wiring requires a little more understanding, starting with your own.